Here's the thing. This is what I'm talking about. At the height of American slavery, which rested on African slavery, black Africans captured the slaves and sold them to the whites. At the height of American slavery, about 1 to 2% of Americans owned slaves. 1 to 2%. That's not 122%. It's 1 to 2%. Oh, and by the way, some of those slave owners were blacks. One study has reported that 28% of free blacks owned slaves, far higher than the percentage of free whites who owned slaves. Also, 2/3 of whites came over to America in bondage and were referred to on both sides of the ocean as slaves. Throughout the 1600s, white slaves outnumbered black slaves, and half of the white slaves died before achieving any kind of freedom. Also, the vast majority of slaves shipped out of Africa were shipped to Brazil. Is anyone railing against Brazilians? No. It's not a mineable white guilt resource down there, is it? Blaming whites now for the legal actions of 1 to 2% of whites and blacks 150 years ago is the equivalent of saying all blacks should be blamed for the actions of a few black criminals 150 years ago. I'd say, I don't know, pretty racist, right? Let me break it down for you even further. Let's jump in our time machine and set it for the here and now. Currently in America, 20% of black men with a high school education have criminal records. Would it be fair to say that all black men with a high school education are criminals? Of course not. That would be racist. See how that works? Going from 20% to 100% is wrong. It's immoral. It's racist. Is it somehow less racist to go from 1 to 2% of whites and blacks were bad 150 years ago to 100% of whites are bad now? Please, I beg you, tell me, what the hell do I have to do with slavery? My ancestors were Irish. Many of them were captured and sold to Middle Eastern slave traders. They were oppressed by the British, starved in the potato famine, you name it. Other of my ancestors fought to end slavery worldwide, one of the great triumphs and honors of European civilization. Hey, did the Jews end slavery? Hell no. Did the Muslims end slavery? The Buddhists, the Zoroastrians? No. It was mostly British Protestants who ended the universal curse of human slavery that has been going on for about 150,000 years. White people ended slavery. It cost untold blood and treasure to do so. No other group can take credit for one of the most massive and momentous advances in basic human morality. Yes, white people ended slavery. Quick question. Who now gets the most blame for slavery? Yes, no good deed goes unpunished. Am I rich because of slavery? No. Everyone, everywhere, all throughout history had slaves. Slavery actually destroyed economic growth by reducing the need for mechanization. There was no industrial revolution in the ancient world because they used slaves to do the work, so rich people didn't want to invest in machinery because that would reduce the value of their slaves. The Industrial Revolution occurred in a post-slavery society. It couldn't have happened any other way. Slavery, throughout human history, kept us all starving. Ending slavery, well, that's why you have the option of eating too much. American blacks have the highest standard of living of any black population on the entire planet. The per capita income of American blacks is currently 20 to 50 times higher than the African blacks in the countries that originally sold slaves to the Europeans. We really haven't understood what slavery was and where it came from. It's become a race issue when it fundamentally wasn't. It was a power issue. When the British could get away with enslaving the whites, they got away with enslaving the whites. When they could get away with enslaving the Africans, they enslaved the Africans. When the Muslims could get away with enslaving everyone, they enslaved everyone. When the Jews could profit from their participation in the slave trade, they did and could. So it is not a race issue at all, fundamentally. When we see that, well, then we have a chance at real freedom.